Hello, 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 everybody. Sorry that the show wasn't out there that long today. I was trying to put everything together not at the last minute, but I was trying to go over some last few things before I put the show out. Well, I guess you could say the last minute. And so, sorry about that. But I don't think it should affect people coming in. All right. Let me go ahead and send one text to Tiffany to let her know we're on right now. We are live right now, kiddo. Come watch the show. Come watch the show. It's hard to text when you're live and you got people backstage, right? And so, but bless her heart, because that's what the show's about, right? Is for people that are just brand new to getting saved and wanting to learn more about Jesus in a way that's way better than the mainstream way that they have now, right? It's so hard to understand, right? How people can have such a, untrue version or view of God, right? When he created this whole place. It's amazing to me. If you're the creator of the world, right, you could put yourself anywhere you want and be anyone you want. And, it's just amazing how humble he is. And I just can't believe how humble he is, right? He doesn't have to be in last place like everyone puts him in last place. He doesn't have to be there. He could be the biggest celebrity on earth, and to me he is. And so let's bring Jake on the show before I start not making sense. Hello, Jake. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Shalom, shalom, brother. I'm doing
Isn't it
good.
crazy?
Hey, you were
Isn't
speaking English to me.
isn't it crazy though, right? I see a song about this Ukrainian president, right? About how he's the savior of the world, right? And how he's picking up his cross. And what? Can one man save the world? Of course, it's already happened.
Is
You know,
is that is that what that song was about, or was in reference
It's
to the
that
president, the Ukrainian
that
president?
that song is about the Ukrainian president. And the
Ah,
question
gosh,
is,
it's like,
can one man save the world?
oh my gosh, yeah, which is like absolute, like we absolutely know
Blasphemy,
that. Yes,
man.
yes, absolutely, there is, and there only is one name under heaven and earth, and we know that is Christ Jesus. But like to put that on a
Yeah,
man
because
or that kind of like worship,
at first I was listening, right? Because someone's like, man, you got to listen to this, man. And I was like, listen. I was like, okay, cool, one man save the world. I'm like, okay, cool, man. And then I was like, okay, it's weird that it's all about the Ukraine. And then they're like,
gosh.
a comedian. I'm like, what? A comedian? What? Jesus is no comedian. But oh, they're talking about this guy. I'm like, what? Get out of here.
Okay, that makes sense. I almost thought at first it was like it was talking about Jesus and just mocking him, but I'm
Me
like, oh my
too.
gosh, but I see what you're saying now. Okay, that makes sense. You know what's funny about that too? It's like, because it does say, I'm not saying that he's the Antichrist at all in any way, shape, or form.
Could
Jesus
be
said there's
though.
going to be many Antichrists, but I mean, there's always the possibility, I think God will guide us there. But it's funny how it says that he will make, he will make a small league, like talking about the Antichrist, and that he will make his way up by flatteries. Like that's how he's going to rise to the top, like by flatteries. Like in other words, that's exactly what politics is, right? Like telling people what they want to hear,
Oh
and it's just so
yeah.
funny. you know, like, because it's the opposite of Christ, you know, Antichrist, you know, Christ is not going to sit there and come flatter people. He is going to speak the truth, you know, and that is his love, because the Antichrist is, it's the polar opposite. Like, he's speaking what they want to hear, but it's not in love, although he's telling them what they want to hear, you know, he's not
And
even
you
telling
wanna
them the
know,
truth.
and you know what else was funny about that is they were saying, in 1,000 years will they say your name, and I was like, that's a pretty arbitrary number if you're not talking about Jesus, right?
Oh,
You
I
know, the
know. Yeah,
thousand
like
year
the,
reign.
oh my
So it's like
gosh. Yeah.
they're making it sound like he is like, oh, Antichrist. So he's gonna
Right.
take the place of Jesus.
I know. I know they
Ugh.
this is so interesting. You know, like I haven't delved super deep into this topic, but I think it is kind of interesting because it's biblical. But that Gary Wayne guy I was sharing with you, he talks a lot like just about how significant like it is in Genesis 6 when it's talking about like, you know, these fallen angels that came down and produced like the Nephilim, like these were men of renown, or like you know, like these were heroes of old, or like men of renown. In other words,
Right.
demigods that people were worshiping. So it's not Greek mythology. Like this, these were like, you know, the produce of the fallen angels, literally. You know, like now it's called Greek mythology, but at what point? Uh, I just saw Michael's banner. Tell me what I want to hear, Jake.
I know. He's like, tell me what I want to hear, Jake.
Repent, the kingdom of heaven is at hand.
Right,
That's
right,
awesome.
right. Yep.
I
Fire and
can't catch all of
brimstone.
it. Okay. Oh, where was I going with all that? Oh, yes. Okay. But he brought up a really interesting point, like about Atlantis. And I don't know a whole lot like about it, you know, but of course it's some mythological thing, old story, like ruled by 10 kings, right? Like in some golden age. And is that not exactly what Revelation is? You know, we know that the 10 horned beast is going to be the 10 kings under the rulership, of course, of like the Antichrist. Is going to be their new golden age. You know, the new age, of course. You know, their new whatever they want to call it, but that's literally what it is. So they are bringing back that like Atlantean city, so to speak. You know, ruled by 10 kings, but on a global scale. You know, it's the what we were talking about the other day, the conspiracy coming to
Right.
fruition. You know, Babel.
Well, they're already doing that, like with the G7, right? I think I want to say they call it the Great Seven Nations.
Oh,
Well,
okay.
they've added three countries to it, so there's a
Yeah,
10 now.
yeah. There's the 10 nations, right? And so, out of that, which 10 kings will rise? I guess we'll know when we get there. You know, as we get
That is
closer. I think.
so insane. Wait, and you know what? Like we say this, right? And it probably like it could be it, but it also could be some totally different thing, right? You know, and it like comes out totally different. Like these other 10 kings from somewhere else, you're like, oh, that happened totally different
Right.
than I thought. You know, and
Yeah.
God is so amazing. You know what I love about God, right? Which is, I love everything about God, but you know what I love about God as far as prophecy is concerned? He puts himself in such a like a tough, like he puts himself out there to where it's got to work out in a detailed way, right? Like why, like if I was if I was gonna prophesy about something, it would be as vague as possible, right?
Yeah.
Like so that it could come true, right? But God is like so you know, detailed about it to where it's like if it doesn't happen this way, then it didn't happen,
Oh
you
my
know?
gosh. You know, I think that's like what's so incredible about it. You know, I think like for multiple reasons, like obviously like so the I think to some like the enemy doesn't even probably fully understand you know, because there is just so much hidden treasure in his word and his prophecy. Like his word is just so deep. You know, we're always coming like to the depths of it, but it just is incredible to me that you know, I've only been on this I've been studying it since, well, like, you know, 2019 is when I picked up the word and actually started reading and started
Right,
getting into it, you know, and then somewhere along the lines, I really got drawn to prophecy because even before I was like, you know, came to Christ, I was always
right, me
drawn
too.
like to conspiracies and all that stuff, you know, and
That's
so
what
then
got
like
me
now,
into it, you know?
right, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, but like, but it is incredible that no matter it's like, you know, like when you think you got it figured out, then all of a sudden you realize you see one little small detail, like, oh my gosh. And then you come back to the drawing board again over and over and over again. But
Right,
it's so
right.
incredible because like you think you have it figured out, right? But then you realize how consistent it is, how perfect it is, how flawless it is, how every like and it's so deep because it's not about just knowing one book. Like you can't just read all of Revelation on its own and then I got it all figured out. It's like, oh my gosh, there's so much to know in Isaiah, so much to know in
It's tough
Jeremiah,
to
so
do
much to
it
know.
that way.
And
Yeah.
yeah, like, and I think it's designed that way because God doesn't want us to just okay, I'm just going to read all the prophecy and just have it all figured out and just have all the answers. It's the journey along the way, and understanding the heart of the creator, understanding the whole
Right.
story, understanding his whole narrative and why he's doing what he's doing. And I think the closer you get to understanding it, you become closer to him in a sense, because we're understanding his plan and what he's doing and why he's doing it, not just for the knowledge sake, but just to really understand the heart behind everything that he's doing.
Because
It's so deep.
he wants us to like go back into the Bible to where that symbolism was first talked about, and go back into the Word and find this symbolism, like to where you have to study through the Bible in order to get to places in Revelation, right? To just read Revelation on its own, right, with like just by itself. I mean,
Yes.
I don't know if that would make sense to anybody, like maybe a little bit
Right.
because you're familiar with what you already read, but man, I love how he makes us go back and research, through the word. I think it's so beautiful, especially like the work we have to do in Daniel, and just how much Daniel trusted God, and just that the stories of faith in there. It's like so
Uh,
amazing. Let me add
it.
Stephanie real quick to the
Oh
show.
yes, awesome, yay! I was wondering where she is.
Good morning, Stephanie. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Hi, Jake. I was
Stephanie,
here. I
hey
was listening.
Stephanie. Oh
You
yeah. Oh okay,
survived the
awesome. I was like, I
storm.
wanted to text you, but if I do that when I'm on StreamYard on my phone, it cancels my mic and I have to rejoin the thing. So it's like I know she'll be here
Oh,
soon,
I know.
hopefully.
Me too. Actually, it used
Okay.
to all the time with everything, but now it just doesn't. It seems like with phone calls, for whatever
Oh
reason,
yeah,
like the
that
text
too.
is not
Yep.
doing
Same
it.
with.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh wow, it switched for you. Okay,
Yeah,
from
it was just
both, I
harder to
guess.
get up because like when there's storms, we just sleep downstairs because I mean we're in Oklahoma and so their sirens always go off. I know we're gonna be fine, but my kid, like when the girls wake up and there's sirens, like their little feet try to run down the stairs. Like Neil almost like flew down the second flight last time. So since then we just sleep downstairs whenever I know there's some storms to
Oh
prevent head
my
injuries.
gosh. I know that was crazy last night. That thunder, like I was so envious of that. Like my gosh, that was just
Well, I know
Yeah, it
crazy.
was.
Chris is in Oklahoma too, so I wanna pray for Chris a little bit. And
I not there wasn't. It's
it's not that bad.
no. I don't. There might have been tornadoes. I don't know. I don't. I guess I shouldn't even say that because I don't watch the news. So I guess there could be, and I don't know what I'm talking about. We're okay. So everything around here looks
Right,
good.
right.
But I mean, it's
Well,
just one of those like we have tornadoes, sirens. Like every time there's a storm, the sirens go off. So
oh
you're just like,
wow,
yeah,
you're over it, right? It's kind of like a
yeah,
California
yeah,
and the earthquakes. It's like, okay, right? There's enough with the earthquake stuff, right? It's yes,
right,
people do get hurt, but it's like not on this scale that like they're making it out to the rest of the world.
right.
And
Uh
I remember like I was watching this one episode of Jeranism, right, where because he lives in Monterey, which is like I don't know, like just close to the epicenter, and so like I'm even further from that, from an earthquake, and so an earthquake happened out here, and like he flipped over like some lawn furniture and put this camera on it, and he goes, "Oh, hey, we're okay out here, we made it," like my lawn furniture fell, you know and and it's like because he was like being sarcastic, like man, it's been overblown for so long how they do this on the news. We're over it. Like we're over it.
I
But
actually felt an earthquake here. People say they feel like after shocks or something, and
sure,
I never really knew if that was true or not. And then one day it was like we lived in Midtown and I was outside, and I guess it was like above a 5 somehow. I don't know. It was like 7 years ago because it was before God, so because it
pretty
really freaked
big.
me out. Yeah, like because I was outside and I was like, okay, literally the ground just shook under my feet. That it was so weird to me. Because
Right.
I used to like tornadoes and all that stuff, but that was like literally I was rooted out for about a week. If I it would be complete, it would have just I probably would have been just in wonder and awe, if I had known God yet. But I was just like, wow, I could
Yes.
fall through the earth
Oh,
and like it's just the point
yes.
of view I had on it was real off.
Well, the biggest one I've ever been in is 6.9 or 7.1, depending on how you measure it. Right, the one in '89. Right, that and it was like impressive. Like it did shake, and
Right.
then a freeway did collapse and part of the bridge, and so that was probably the most destructive. but like usually
Yeah.
they're easy to get through. But you're right. It's impressive though because God can shake the earth.
Yeah,
Right,
that's so
right.
true.
Because before
They
it makes
they
it seem
literally
like
can.
you're not safe anywhere. Because I didn't know it would like it's God. You think it's like I actually started looking into oil drills and all this stuff, and I just went down a really deep like lying hole. That wasn't even like the rabbit hole because you're getting what science tells you everything is. So
Right,
yeah,
right.
it's
Well,
funny. Sorry, go ahead, Jake.
you got me to reverse my position on earthquakes a little bit.
Yeah,
There's something.
yeah, it's something. It's not what you say. Yeah, I don't know what, but
I, I was in Costa Rica in 2012, and there was a 7.2 earthquake, and I felt so bad because I was with I was doing like a study abroad thing down there, and the teacher that I was with has like a phobia of earthquakes, and it was the weirdest thing because like we were in the classroom and there was like probably only 7 of us, and everybody had a different emotion. Like the teacher just started going into a panic, another person started crying, another person was laughing, and I was just like almost numb, like just watching it all like in shock, like what is happening right now, and we were all like helping her get out, and we were just standing like the middle of this forest, and the trees are just like shaking like crazy, and I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, and like I'll admit, like that thought did come there in that moment because it feels like you don't really know what's gonna happen in that moment, and I'm like, oh, is this it? Like, is this really it? That thought did come for a second, because I've never experienced something like that, and like everything's shaking. It was like, whoa, that was just absolutely crazy, but. Luckily, I
I
was in
would
a
say
pretty
like if
safe
it's
spot.
not if you're not used to earthquakes, right, and you're in a big one, and it's your very first one, just not knowing when they're going to end is pretty scary. Because if you don't know that they're over in a few seconds, you could be like really freaked out, like, wow, this ground's going to open up, like, because it does
Yeah.
feel like it has to happen if it keeps shaking like that. And
that's actually what I
7.2
thought. I was
is
thinking
crazy.
because I remember like reading. This scared me more than anything. I think when I was younger, like people laying in bed and then just literally their beds falling through a hole. Yeah, there was
Worse
a
than the
story.
boogeyman.
Seriously, there was a story. Yeah, so no, there was like it was a family, and I don't know what's gonna get this now, but there was like a family, and the little kid ended up not sleeping in that room, and they had the brother or sister that was staying with them, and something happened, and like it was a black hole formed, what they call or whatever, and they woke up in the center of the house where the kid would have been. The whole bed just was like you couldn't see it; just went into the earth, and so stuff like that
Oh, I
really
don't know
creeped me
about
out.
that. Is
Yeah,
that
what is that called
true?
when they open up when the ground opens up?
Yeah.
I
Like a
don't know if it's
sinkhole.
true anymore.
A
Yeah, a
sinkhole.
sinkhole. Yeah, it was a sinkhole. And now,
Oh,
like I
okay.
said, I don't know what to even
Yeah.
think about that. Like because it was
Yeah.
like on this fault line and da 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 da. So I was just like, oh my,
There was what in the Old Testament. I think it was in Numbers where the ground did open up and swallow like people as well. So there was kind of something
right?
like that. You. So like,
Yes.
yeah, that definitely
God was
does. So
more
it is like a
involved
real
back
thing.
then if you messed up.
What's that?
God was more involved back then if you messed up.
Yeah, and well, right, exactly. I know, but it's funny he said that because I remember reading that and that came to my mind because I
Oh
don't know all
yeah.
these stories, everything on the news, like they're just you just have to take everything with a grain of salt. That's why I just stay away because
It's like
if you have to like
why do
sift
they
through the
always
lies, then just stay away.
Yeah.
why do they always try to like mimic everything that happens in the Bible, and like act like it just happens routinely in the world? Like
Right.
I sometimes I wonder, like, we're probably way safer than we think we are,
Oh my goodness,
and
yes.
things happen
Of
probably
course.
way less than we think it does. It's just they're
Yeah.
so evil and they're nasty that they probably do that kind of stuff.
Well, it's the
Or
whole like they
they
have to
do
make it
evil
sound like
stuff.
it's out of control. Like because I
Yeah.
mean everything the whole reason for what it is, like they do everything to hide God. So they have to add to that story by making everything seem like, it's just spontaneous and you never know and it's all random.
Yes.
Because they
Otherwise
wanted
their
us to
whole
believe
everything would be
Keep people in fear.
they
yes,
wanted us
yeah.
to believe that there was a storm, right? That just stopped over, like with that island in it's like the Caribbean or something like that. Like a storm was coming by and it just stopped over the island for like 24 hours. And then that's crazy, man. You can't how's that even possible? A storm's just gonna fly in and then stop for 24 hours and then
Eh,
destroy everything, but nowhere else,
Yes.
anywhere else around it.
Well, they're
Something
able
big
to
like that.
isolate it too, where people that live in these areas, like, you know, they're not able to like. There's been things like it was like I don't know, I guess maybe it was a year ago, they said storms were really bad here and they were doing all these pictures and it actually wasn't that bad. They made it look way worse than it was. But the thing is just even a few people say, well, no, it's not like that, which I don't even know who would do that or how many do, but it's the truth isn't going to get out, because everybody's so scattered and they have their own news network. It's, you know what I mean? So they just drown
There's
out
no
the
truth in him.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they have the mainstream that they kind of funnel in, and they can just focus on one small story and blow it up and make it seem like it's real everywhere, and it's the whole like the order out of chaos thing, like they do this to keep the fear in the people to push forward their narrative, which is all part of their plan, but still nothing they can't do outside of God's control. Like it's God's timing, like we were talking about, Stephen. If the enemy wanted, he would have been on the scene a long time ago. That veil would have been lifted. He would have been ruling and reigning. He would have at the Tower of Babel. He's always wanted to, but he can only work within God's timeline. So it's when God says, "Yep, okay, now you have your small window. Now you can go." And so I always look at these things like whether it's man-made or not, like it doesn't matter. It's like it's not how it happens. It's that it happens, and God wrote about it. They have to go by what He says. They absolutely
Yeah, like what He allows. Yeah, and if He allowed it, there's going to be something good that comes from it. Like it's for an ultimate purpose,
Yeah.
It's not just random. And
it's almost like these famines, right? Where like they say that there's famines all over the place, but then there's fires at all these warehouses with all these food warehouses where it can't be coincidence that it's only food warehouses getting burned up, right? In all these different ways, right? But while they were giving the report, an airplane hit one while they were giving the report. Like, come on.
Was that recently?
Yes.
Oh, that's kind of funny. Because what I never realized?
Yeah,
like Jake opened my eyes to this because like I don't know, because you read Revelations and I don't know, because the thing is they can also mock things. That's fine. Like we just have to stay so close to God because you really don't know if them trying to make Christians believe that this is it. Like you just don't know, and the only way we'll know is that we just stay close to God. But let's say that this is let's just say that it is, and in the Bible it tells us that this is going to happen. That bread's going to be the wheat's going to cost I think it's the equivalent of $50 a loaf. Like whenever you change the currency,
a day's wage for a meal.
Yeah, day's wage. Yeah. So what? Yeah, you don't know if it's it's that God could be he could have been speaking about this, so it could be a man-made thing, but he would still tell us about it, But when I used to read it, I used to think, I don't know what I thought, but I didn't think about the fact that it's gonna be the same as it is now. He uses evils for his purpose, It's all the same.
Exactly. I'm thinking the same way that it probably most likely will be man-made, like
exactly,
where they'll or maybe this stuff is just written into reality to be accidents all over the place, and that's just the way it is, Like we don't know whether or not it's intentional free will happening from people, or whether or not it's just for real accidents that are just written into the story. Because now that we know that we're in a created narrative, there's no doubt about it, and it was created from the end to the beginning, right? That like it is done, it is complete. Now our free will still in there. God knows what card we're going to pick. You can't add information to God, obviously, right? So He knows what's going to happen. But it's funny in the sense that we don't know if that is from our own free will doing, or if it's natural disasters, or if it's just God writing it into the narrative as accidents. We don't know. Right.
And that's the kind of analytical thing that it takes any type of faith out, because we really I know God gave us the ability for all these things, but when it comes to where we can analyze things to where where it can almost talk ourselves out of God, which that's not, but it's taking it out of His hands, then I just know it's really not good, because really ultimately everything is in His hands. And I try and, if my brain ever goes somewhere that it's trying to understand why something is happening or the way it is, I just really go back to God, because He doesn't even tell us why we're supposed to do things. I just trust Him. So I don't need to understand why evil's doing what it does. I just trust Him,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's exactly it. We're in the narrative that's already, the story is declared, and we're just walking towards that victory, and as far as why evil's doing all those things, how God's using it, we know He's using it for good, but all the nitty gritty details and that, we'll figure all that out when we get there. And I know one thing, when we see that man behind the curtain, we're going to be like, that's the man that deceived all the nations. We're going to be like, what? This was the guy,
it's probably like Gilbert Godfrey or something,
what?
What?
right, exactly.
Paul
But
Rubin.
yeah, as far as like like what we were talking about, just some things I stick to as well, like when it comes to how the enemy could be using all these things that are always kind of give the impression that we're on the shadow of the tribulation, like oh yeah, famine, or oh yeah, war, so when you see those things, we're thinking of like the four horsemen, which yes is true, right? Because those are going to be some of the things that happen when the four horsemen or the spirits of those horses are going around the earth. But I think when it comes to watching and looking at those things, that's where we start to kind of look at other things that Jesus told us about as well, and the other signs. Like I know the big one we talk about, of course, is I don't think the enemy can mock. He definitely can't, because God said, "I will set the stars, sun, and moon for signs and for seasons for us, to speak to us." And say, I do not believe that Satan can mock that, and I say that to
Right.
say about the Revelation 12 sign that happened. I absolutely believe that was from God, and the enemy
Right.
cannot mock that,
Me too.
which is huge. And of
Now,
course,
one thing that's interesting about that someone brought up to me is that because like I'm of the belief now, right, that that the stars are living beings, angels, right? That's my belief, right? Now, there is something interesting to be said that they're, with fallen angels, what can they replicate? But as far as something like that, I don't think God would allow them to do that to us. I
I
don't
don't think they have the
see that.
power. I just
Right.
don't. I don't think they have the
Right.
power to. Yeah.
I agree with that then. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. We know each star is named, and they all have their courses that they go, and that's all ordained by God, and Satan cannot tap into that. He has no authority over God. He has to play within his rule book.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird how like there's a lot of, I mean, like people now, right, they don't have like this image of God that's correct, right? And it's like the world has you believing that there's this like yin and yang, the balance of good and bad. Somehow there's some kind of equal opposite to God that may win. Like instead of like the reality of just how insignificant and defeated already the adversary is, right?
Yeah.
It's
There's Christians that do that. Like, people that spend even a lot of time trying to like really even trying to like fight back the enemy. Like there's no reason to, like, literally, like it's our whole everything is we resist the devil, we get close to him. That's just all at once. Like coming close to him, that is resisting the devil. We don't need to spend time focusing even on what evil's doing, because the only reason it's here is to fulfill God's plan. That's it. And
yeah,
it takes away a lot of time of getting to know him, growing in him, and
that's a good
there's
point.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the darkness, it does not comprehend the light. And where light shines, the darkness can't be in it. Like I said, you go in the deepest, darkest cave, light up a flashlight, and what's going to happen? Where that light is, the darkness cannot be there. And it's the same with us when we are submitted to God, and we're in worship to Him, and we have that armor and just that love of God in us. The darkness can just not be there. It stands no place. It does not have power over light. It's not possible.
See, and that's
Just
why
by
the
shining
book
light.
of Job is so important, and why Job is so important. Just the precedent it sets of just how far, just the limit of what Satan can do, and it just shows us that if we really do resist the devil, right, he will flee from us, right, and only when God allows it, right, will there be a purpose, right, for that to happen, right,
Right.
only
That's why
for a
we can get
purpose,
excited. Right. And
right,
that's how, like, in trials and tribulations, we actually can have joy, because it's not even like you understand, right? Because sometimes you don't even like, because you're just going through life, right? There's like a reality here where, especially if you're not like in a fellowship, like you can you're doing the world, but you're still doing it, like living in the spirit. But you can get something can happen. So it's not like you have time to think, oh, okay, God let this through, right? But it's still the fact that you're just close to Him, you'll come to that and you'll realize, like, okay, I'm noticing this. And you just, of course it's evil, but you don't take account that it's evil. It doesn't matter that it's evil. And you just have to understand, like, wow, there's actually a purpose. Because really, there's so many things that we don't even know that He protects us from. Like, we just have this great, huge light around us that things probably just want to get in, and He doesn't allow it. There's so many things that beyond what we already are grateful for, that we like have to be grateful for, that we never, things that they wanted to happen and He never even allowed, or He stopped, or but so the things that He does, and it's Him allowing it, they're for His purpose, which means it's for our good. It's for a reason. It's to
Yeah.
sanctify it, it's to build up, it's to is to get us to where a place where, like mine was my flesh whenever I was like in pain or something. I had a hard time just like staying near him, just be like living in the spirit, letting the spirit be in charge, not my flesh. And so he got me there, and he did it gradually by literally pain happening, things like that. And
Mhm.
he was always there. It's amazing. He's the best father ever, because then you just wake up one
Yes.
day and it's not like you just look back and understand, oh my goodness, because you have a knowing that he was there the whole time. But then when you wake up and you're like, oh my goodness, I'm actually in pain right now, and I am so joyful, so grateful, like everything you would always wanted to be. But that's probably why it was able to happen, because if I would have been thinking about it, he wouldn't have been able to do anything about it. But he took my eyes off of that just enough to where I was just like focusing on him, and he got me to where I needed to be, like not
Mm.
looking at my own flesh, my own self.
Yeah, because that's the big deception, right? Is I got to get myself out of this pain, and then always looking for something outside of myself. Okay, well, I'll just eat some of this lotus root, maybe take some of these painkillers, and or whatever, whatever outside of my body thing I need for my pain. Then now that I'm okay, then I could start my prayers and all that, right? But in reality, right, anything I want to do could start right then with my relationship with God, right? Nothing is in the way, and we're taught by this world that like that we have problems that only they have the answers for, and it's a cause and effect thing constantly in our life. It's
Right.
what a
And it's
lie,
not taking
you
it away, but that's the thing. It's like, so it's not even that. And I know he will, by the way, because that's how amazing he is. It's like, it's all for a purpose, though. So I actually even know that all that will be healed, but I'm not, I just trust him. I don't even really think about that part. But it's
Yeah.
because you feel him, like, so he's growing in you. And so it's not that the pain is less, but you feel him so much more than you feel anything else. Right. So it's not about,
You let
not
go of your
noticing something.
expectation. You know he has for
Yeah.
you.
It's, you let go of expectations, you let go of, you just I'm not I really don't know, he's the one that does it, but it really is just, you still feel the same, but you're so close to him that you just still have that joy in everything that we should have. I mean, he everything, like he did everything, Jesus, like he was crucified on the cross for us, like that is where our joy comes from, that is where our hope comes from. He reunited us back to our Father, and then we let these other little
know.
small things, like, oh, I've got a headache, like, but that is crazy. And the thing is he's so
Right.
amazing. He's not like, oh, okay, really, you have a headache, so you're not going to look at me. No, he builds us up to where we are there, where it doesn't matter whatever is going on in the world, we still have the joy of the Lord,
Yes.
because it's
Yeah.
not any of that that matters. Like, if I didn't have one, I should still feel the same way as if I had one, because that's not what made me have joy.
Well, and sometimes like I really want people to be careful about being like way too hyper into like, well, I'm not gonna do this because I want God to heal it and not this other thing, and I get that, right? And we should go to God as direct as possible, right? But to sit in front of a glass of water and be like, well, I'm not gonna drink it. I'm gonna wait for God to quench my thirst, and I'm not gonna drink
Well,
this
I don't
glass
know.
of
That's
water.
different.
You know,
Like, he
it,
tells us to eat and drink, but he's our doctor. I think it's amazing for people to wait and have God heal them. I mean, if you have the
I
faith for
know
that,
it. Me
you
too.
know.
Me too.
I don't know,
Me
because I
too.
mean, he doesn't tell us in the Bible that he wants to drink our water for us and eat for us, but he does tell us he wants to be
Right.
our doctor.
I mean, if we have
So
the
Right.
it's a
But
little
ability to tie
different.
our
okay.
shoes, we don't need to ask him to do that. You know?
Right. Right.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
hold on. I'm gonna wait for God to tie my shoes. But
Yeah.
like, I do think you're right. I do think that it's awesome to wait on the Lord for everything. I do think that really, I think that's how we should be with everything, including our shoes, right? But sometimes I do see people go like a little bit extreme with that, and I'm like, yes, God says we can move mountains, but that doesn't mean I can just move the mountain that you live on all the time, right? Like there is there has
We
to
have
be
to
a
be careful,
purpose,
though, because just because you can't doesn't mean they can't. Because everyone is a
right?
different place with their faith, and he
True,
builds us up
true,
differently.
true.
So I would be
Yeah,
really like, just this kind of thing. Like, I know there's people further in their faith than I am, and that's what I want to be. I want to be where, I mean, not tie my shoes. He gave us dominion of this world, and he didn't make us little puppets or where everything just happens for us, right? Like, so we have to do these normal things. It's just
yeah,
living. But as far as I can't heal myself, but he can, right?
yes,
And he wants to, and he can by our faith. So if I'm saying, okay, he's going to heal me, but then I'm also, like with my finger, I knew he'd heal it, like after it was cut off, and like a year after it's cut off, and the nail was trying to come off, right? I knew he was going to heal
yeah,
it, but then I still had a doctor's appointment because my husband told me, like, because it looked bad. He was like, so I did it, and I didn't, but I was like, he's going to heal it. But then I realized, wait, why do I have a doctor's appointment then? And as soon as I canceled it, then it was fine. Like our faith has to be
Mm,
strong enough because I really did believe it, but then just having that backup isn't good. Like for
Oh,
me,
that's
I think because
amazing.
I've heard of times where people did have like that and he still came through. But for me, what I did and why he wasn't going to is because I listened to my husband and was like, okay, I'll make it. And I really didn't even want to make it, and he knew that, but I still listened to him. So I listened to my husband over my father. So obviously he had to get to me and be like, no, cancel that. So I did.
Yeah.
mm. That's amazing. It was almost like a way for you to even step out in faith, be like, you know what? No, I do not need any safety net or anything like that in this world. Like I put my full trust in you. The way that opportunity came up in the spirit kind of led you to do that. That's beautiful.
It is. So like your finger looked like it was at a point where they were gonna have to cut it off even?
Well, no, it was the finger that was cut off. Like I cut it like a year before. It fell
Right.
off. It fell off. It got shut in a door. But and whenever
Oh,
they did the surgery on it, the doctor, like, it's like the tip of my ring finger, my left ring finger, and the doctor
yeah.
had it, like, I'm sitting here feeling it on. He's like like taking a saw to it, and he had to take it a little bit lower because he said, well, I've got to get low enough because if not, the cuticle and the nail will try to grow back through. So you have to understand, like, without the fingernail, the finger there, if the fingernail comes through and the quick comes through, that's not good. It's just poking through the tip of your finger because you don't have, it's from the top knuckle up. So it just wouldn't be
Right.
good. And like within a year, of course, like I was like, oh my goodness, there's like a big bubble, and then it blistered, and then it hurt, and then I saw this big nail, and then it was like it didn't look like a normal nail because it's all disfigured. And then of course the doctors like medically they have to literally go back in. They have to like reopen the finger. They have to take it down more. Like you have to go through a whole new surgery.
Oh
There's no way for
wow.
it to go away because your body regenerates. So if they don't go low enough to where that cell is, whatever that all is, I'm not sure medically, then there's nothing else you can do except for them going and like going deeper. And so, anyways, but there is something more. There's God because He made me and He can make all that stop. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, within a week, the hole was completely gone because you could see the bone through the hole, and
Yeah.
he took care of all of it. He's
I've
amazing.
seen one like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it's horrible.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Wow.
great. That's
That's so
great.
beautiful.
I
And
love
like I said,
testimonies
to the
like that.
world, there's absolutely nothing you can do. Like, you just have to have surgery. Like, it's not going to stop trying to grow. That's what it does. Do you know what I mean? Like, to the world, to the doctors, to everyone, to my husband. But to me, and honestly, in this one for sure, I just really did know. I just really, I knew he had it.
He is the great physician. He is the physician. I think
The
that's just so
only
Right.
beautiful. Like,
physician, in my opinion. I told
yeah.
Oso that last night. I was like, that's the only physician, in my opinion. You
Oh,
know,
nice. Yes. Yes.
right? Unless you're gonna like, God puts something there for you to help yourself. Like in a way that is from God, right? Like then, God's our only physician, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. I think that's like, like it's his love. Like
Even
he's a father, just like he wants to nourish us, and like just when he does those things, it's just beautiful and how that deepens our connection, and he wants to take care of us. And that's where he just wants us to step out in faith, and he just stands ready to do things like that, and it's just really beautiful to see that, like our testimonies are for each other, for all of us, he speaks to all of us in different ways. It's beautiful.
Man, I'm gonna tell you what, guys, man. I wish I can have you guys on like every day. You have no idea, right? Like just how much God has revealed to me. Just how big of a I want to say weapon, but really like amazing tool, mighty tool for God that you guys are. And the way you guys help me tighten up, like when doctrine gets loose around here, or we get loosey goosey having fun with some of these shows, and just how they get tightened back up. And I don't want to use you for that, right? Even though you guys do that for me. And man, I just want to say how grateful I am for you guys, being like just being available to me even offline when I have questions and all that stuff. It truly is amazing.
Oh man, no, it's you
So
know
we'll
what,
talk
like,
to you outside of this. I don't know. You're so welcome. I love talking
oh,
to you. I love talking to like anybody
I
who
know, like,
who loves Jesus. Like I truly
I'm like,
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
getting
I would
just
just
as
like go
much
away in a
out of it,
closet and just
no,
like spend time with other
I'm like,
believers all day if I could. You know,
Right.
that
Oh,
wouldn't
no,
very
isn't
that
it
wouldn't promise very
amazing
much
we
for
though?
can do
him,
this
but I would.
together. I
But
would
Yeah.
isn't it
just as
weird how
much.
like we wear people out like normal people like when we talk about God, like I didn't realize this before, right, when I first started doing it. But man, I mean right, like normal people, I don't want to call them normal people, but like people that are just in the world kind of like it's a lot to talk about God all the time for them. It's like it wears them out. And for us, we
Yeah.
could probably do it all day long. It's my favorite thing to talk about, you know? And it's, I mean, are we like odd in some way, or are we just like, I don't know, like how did I even get here?
I
Sometimes I
think
wonder,
we I think we found the field. We found it with the treasure, and we sold everything, and we're going for that field with that treasure. We found the truth,
Yeah,
and we're like, that's what we're holding on to. And I think we just know like
that's it,
there's
Jay.
power in His name. He's the truth. There's life in it when we just get to spend time. Like I see this. Like I was just telling this with Stephanie yesterday after our stream, but like it is like spending time with Him. Like literally, when we're here like worshiping together in the Spirit, like and we're sitting here with joy, like that comes from Him. So I can only imagine Him up there as well watching us. Like we're His children, and so
Yes,
there is
me
nothing.
Well,
too.
it's joy
It's
So
like
of
we
the
found that
Lord. Like,
pearl and
because
we
he said,
sold
well,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah,
because
go ahead,
like,
I'm
well,
sorry.
I just imagine him up there even more joyful than us, and like, but that's it. Like the joy you had, that's why it's so. It's from him. It's the joy of the Lord. So you
yes,
just know, like
yeah,
you're getting like a little glimpse of, like you feel him, and it's just,
yes.
there's nothing that this world could ever. There's nothing in this world that could ever do what that is. Like just that closeness, that love. Knowing that
And
it doesn't
Jesus.
matter what happens, no matter how big it seems, like he has this. Like it's all in his control.
Well, I think that's the thing is like, and He has our hearts, because now that we have the truth and we know who He is, like, oh my gosh, we want every like part of Him in our lives and in everything. And Jesus said, out of the mouth flows the abundance of the heart, And so it's like, oh my gosh, yes, like we just want to. That is all we want is just God, just to be with Him, understand Him, to keep growing with Him, and that relationship every day. We absolutely need to, and that's the beauty of just coming here together in fellowship, learning to die to our flesh, learning to take our thoughts captive and growing together through these trials. As the stumbling blocks come up,
Yeah,
I mean, they're not stumbling really; they're trials that are actually that are raising us. It's like all these things that come up, whether these topics that we sift through or whatever it is. Like God's using this to raise us. It's like going through the wilderness at first when you're a child, and maybe there's all these traps all over the place, and you're running around, you're getting caught in these snares. But then once you see where the snare is at, you start moving around like, oh, okay, yep, I know where that snare is. I'm going to move around that. I'm not going to step in that one again, And so it's like God's using all these things to raise us
right.
together, and that's the beauty of it, Because we really can't do it on our own, And there's so many scriptures that say two is better than one.
Absolutely. I mean, God definitely cares how we treat each other. Absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind God cares how we treat each other. In fact, that's like how like people can tell us from other
Yeah.
other people is
Because
that
Jesus, I
of
mean,
our love for each other. Yeah.
right? Jesus, he's the Word in the flesh, right? So that means everything in the Bible. Like, so it's more than just like it came to life. So everything that we need to know, we see in his life. Does that make sense? Like the Word became flesh. So that
That's
like
right.
he is exactly what it would be like if we read the Bible and we had all the words and we were doing exactly what he asked us
Wow.
to do. Like that
And
example is
and
Jesus, and we kind of overlook
and
that,
here's
and
the
that's
best
why.
part. Here's
Yeah,
the best part is we're made out of him. We're made out of
yeah,
his so so we are in him, he is in us, his words are in us, right? Like all those things in John that stretch the language, the English language to the maximum, right? Like I am in him, he is in me, I am in you. You
Yeah.
take eat this. This is my body. This is my flesh. Right. Like all these things. Right. Like we
Right.
are we are a part of each other, right? And I'm made of him, and he loves me, and I love him, and his spirit is in me, right? Like we're so intertwined. We're like we're a family, but we're all one thing, right? We're part of each other, and that's my favorite part of the whole thing is that not only am I part of him, right, which is definitely what I want to be, right, but I'm a part of you guys too, right? And the only thing that makes me me is that I'm confined to this, the body, right, that I have, right? I'm like, if I didn't have it, I would just be part of you guys, I would just kind of assimilate, and I always talk about that, right? Because it's like in my mind it sounds great. I don't know if it sounds crazy to other people, right? But to me it's like, wow, I could just be like something, I could be a part of you that you can use for your life, like
Yes. Yes.
I don't know, I just
You
think
know,
that way.
Yeah, like maybe you're a piece of the shoulder and you're sending something down to
Yeah,
that pinky finger. Hey, yeah, you need some nutrients over there. I
right.
got you, buddy.
I'm
I'm
like a
sending something
blanket.
away.
I'm like a blanket you can like wear around, you know, like, oh yeah, I got Steve with me. He's gonna help me out, you know.
Right.
You're the medic on the field. You're the medic on the field.
Yeah, it's like,
I got
who's this
backup.
guy? Oh, he's gonna help us out, man. He's just
Oh
coming with us.
man,
He looks like the kind of
I
guy
love
that'll help us out.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
You
we're
know,
all
it's
these
like
little interesting characters, you know, and like you know, out of all things to be, right? We are like pretty like high up on the list, right? I mean, it's humbling to be a mankind, right? Um because like I mean even he puts us above the angels, right? Like that's like it's so humbling. They're made of this better chemistry than us. They're immortal. They have their you know at this point, right? They're smarter and all this stuff, right? And like we get to fall a million times, right? And there's this reconciliation for us, right? And they fall one time and there is no plan to
Yes, but
reconcile
they
them,
were in
right?
his presence. They were literally in his
Sure, of
presence. Like they knew him. It
of
is
course
so
it was
different. Like,
fair.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah, like
I think
it's
just
so, yeah. Like
Yeah.
it's
he's
amazing.
not like it's. I just don't like that point because he is very forgiving. Like it is so different. Like I mean, he's
Absolutely.
very merciful. Like he gives us
Yes.
mercy upon mercy upon mercy. But with them, it is completely different. Like they literally, you know, like he
They
wanted to
knew
exalt
what they
himself. He
had.
was around his presence. He was around his. Yeah, he literally, you know, it's
Yes.
just it's. And we don't deserve it. But what I'm saying is, I never look at it and say, well, he wouldn't even forgive them. Like it's just a
Well,
completely different, you know,
I think the
situation.
reason why I say it like that is because of just how much we really do get, right? Like all the stuff we
Right,
get
we
that we
do.
don't
I
deserve,
know.
right? And so it's
Right.
you could look at it the other way, I guess, and you know,
Yeah,
it
like
does
it's
seem
weird
not
though, you know, because
yeah.
it's like mercy is like when we don't get something we deserve, and then grace is something
Right.
getting something we don't deserve. So I
Yes.
mean, it just shows who he is. You know, we're not getting the punishment, and then we actually get his grace, and
Yes.
neither we deserve. We deserve one, we don't deserve the other, and the good one. You know, it's just
It's like,
it's
why does
amazing.
he love
That's who
us
he
so
is.
much? Like,
Yeah,
why does he love us so much? But he
he is
does, and
love.
that's his
He is
choice.
love. You know.
Yes. That's
And
right.
it makes me feel good that he chooses that, right? And to know that that's his choice to do that. And then it's our choice if we want to love him back. And it is perfect, you know, because it's two sides choosing to love each other, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Stephanie fell off. Oh, well, I'm gonna about to round out anyway.
Oh,
But
perfect. Yeah, no worries. Man,
you
no,
guys
thanks
are
for
just
having us on.
amazing, man. I love
All right.
these shows, man. And I hope
Praise
everyone
God.
leaves here feeling charged up, ready to start their Tuesday. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to have Paula on, and that's going to be a special show. I can't wait for that. And well, that's after her breakfast and everything. So I'll start off the first part by myself, but it'll still be super fun, and I'm excited about it. And you know, looking forward to that. Man, thank you guys for coming on. Oh,
No,
you guys are
thanks for
amazing.
having us on. It always gets me like I'm like, this is morning bread right here. This is the bread of life and the living water. Like I love it. So I love you
Yeah.
guys. And it's
And
I'm
we got a lot
seriously
of clicks
just
this
grateful to
morning.
be
I
here.
was happy about that, you know. I was like, oh man, a lot of people are going to see this show, and this is a pretty edifying show, you know. And so I'm always glad for
It's our
that.
church, you know. It really is. We're two or more gathered. There he is in the midst of them, you know. And so it's
That's
just
right.
a blessing and an honor to be able to do this, you know, by His
Well,
grace. And so
we're starting to find we're starting to find each other, right? We're all kind of alike, you know, and it's like there's not very many of us out there that are quite like us, right? And it's weird because it's like you know, you wonder what you are, you know, like what am I exactly? I'm not the type to want to be saying any kind of awesome thing about myself, right? I'm like, ooh, that's cringy, right? But I mean, it's starting to look pretty.
He's calling a lot of people home. It's the wheat and the tares. You know, the wheat is growing and they're getting stored in his barn. You know, and so I think the more and more the wheat is growing and the mighty work that Jesus is doing in our lives, it's calling us together more and more as well, together as a family. You know, as we're being united in Him, we're drawn nearer to Him, and in turn, as the darker the world gets out there, the more we're coming together because we know this is not our home, this isn't our place. We're apart from that. You know, we to stand in the truth together and keep growing. You know, it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, just the thought that we could be the very elect would be just amazing.
Man.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
I
hard
can't even believe it. I mean, just let me in and I'll start washing feet. You know, I'm a feet washer. Trust me on that. I put
Yeah,
myself
I
below
know. I can't
everything. I
even.
will watch be yeah. Even if you give me a crown and say you will rule all this, right? Oh no, 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 no. I'm watching feet.
Oh, I know. I'm
Yeah.
not even thinking about rules or anything. I'm like, no, I'm just
Yeah,
like, I just
none of
want to praise
that.
the
That
Lord.
makes me
I just
cringe,
want to
right?
love Him,
Yeah.
worship Him, just to be with Him. You know, I'm not even, however that'll work, I have no idea. But I know
However
what you're
that
saying.
works
I'm not
out.
like, oh, I
Yeah.
want to be the greatest of the elect. Like, ugh, yeah, no. Well, and I think
Ew.
that's why, like, yeah, I know it's gross, right? Like, I would be a
Yeah.
part of that. No, I'm just to be a part of His
Yeah, just
creation
living
and to
it,
be with Him.
man.
His love. That's.
Yeah.
And what did it say, John 16? Like, this is eternal life, to know that the Son whom He hath sent, or to know Jesus Christ. You know, like that is eternal life, to come to the knowledge of Him, or something right along those lines. How it says
Yes.
that. I know it's like in John 16, like to know Him. You know, that is eternal life. And it's like, my gosh, praise God. You know, we'll be spending all of eternity. Heaven and earth will pass away, but His word will not. You know, so I think we're going to be spending all eternity learning His word and constantly coming to the depths of Him. You know, over and over. That's why He moves from glory to glory, I think. You know, it's like because he's always glory, you know, but then you're like, oh my gosh, he just keeps moving. You're constantly like, wow, awe and wonder. And you're never getting to the full depths of God, because he's beyond anything we could imagine.
Yeah. So amazing,
Awesome.
man. I'm in
Thanks,
love
bro.
with God, man. I just love God so much. But alrighty,
Yeah.
guys. Well, thank you for coming on, and especially, big thank you for Stephanie. I mean, of course, I've always appreciated her coming on, and you, Jake. It's just amazing. And thank you. I can't thank you enough. I could spend hours doing it. And so
Wow.
there's Stephanie. She's down there in the chat. She got bumped,
Oh,
but it's okay. Yeah, too late to re-click.
okay.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
Yeah,
All
yeah,
righty.
thanks.
So praise Jesus for his sacrifice and his grace. All glory to God because he deserves it. And pray for the kids. Pray for each other. Pray for anyone being victimized out there. And I will see you guys tonight at 4 p.m. Have a good day.